Ignorance isn't just about lacking degrees or book learning. It's really about not understanding who we truly are. You could be the most educated person in the world, armed with fancy diplomas and piles of knowledge. But if you keep hiding behind books, dogmas, and authority, you won't ever really understand yourself. Real understanding flowers only when you know what's going on inside you, when you see your own thoughts, emotions, and desires clearly. That's why real education is about discovering who you are, deep down. After all, everything that makes us human, our confusion, our happiness, our sorrow, resides right here, within each of us. The trouble is, most of us treat education like a process of collecting facts and memorizing what's written in books, but any literate person can do that. If all education does is give us an escape from looking inward, we're bound to keep building up more and more inner turmoil. Conflicts arise because we keep mixing ourselves up in all sorts of complicated relationships, whether with other people, ideas, or things, and we never pause to observe or correct those relationships. Without that clear understanding, just feeding our minds with more data and technical know-how only increases the chaos and leads us into even deeper trouble. Look at how we raise children today. We send them to school to learn certain skills so that later they can earn a living. We put so much pressure on them to become experts in one field or another, hoping it'll give them some kind of economic security. But is that really what helps them understand themselves? Sure, reading and writing and the training to be a doctor or an engineer are all important. But we should ask ourselves, do these skills alone teach us about the deeper layers of life? If all we focus on is technical or professional training, then we're missing something truly essential about living. Life holds sorrow and joy, beauty and ugliness, love and anger. When we grasp all these human experiences in a holistic way, our understanding naturally shapes how we act in the world. But trying to start with just a method or formula for living doesn't magically lead to the larger insight. It's the deeper insight that influences how we apply our skills, not the other way around. Modern education is failing us because it puts most of its energy into producing experts, technicians, scientists, engineers, while losing sight of the bigger picture of life. When we place too much emphasis on efficiency and expertise, we ignore the need to explore our own thoughts, desires, and motives. This one-sided approach to learning makes us harder, more prone to conflict, and more likely to damage ourselves and others. Just look around. We have all kinds of specialists, nuclear physicists, space explorers, genius inventors. Yet do they truly see the grand mystery of life? A person who identifies only as an expert tends to see everything through the narrow lens of their specialty. They can only explore life fully when they no longer cling to that label of expert, opening themselves to wonder in every moment. Yes, technological progress can solve certain problems for certain people, at least up to a point. But it also creates new and bigger challenges. If we charge ahead in life without paying attention to what's happening within our hearts and minds, we only invite more suffering and conflict. The greatest need of every individual is to see the whole movement of life in a clear, integrated way. This kind of seeing allows us to handle the increasing complexities of modern existence without falling apart. No amount of technical skill can soothe the deep conflicts within us. In fact, when we learn new technologies without nurturing love and compassion, we risk using our skills to harm each other, like splitting the atom, but lacking the wisdom not to misuse such power. Most of us pick careers according to our abilities, and we pour all our energy into those professions, thinking that's the key to a fulfilling life. But does your job alone solve your inner unrest and confusion? Sure, some job training is necessary. There's no problem with learning how to build bridges or cure illnesses. But once you become an engineer or a doctor, then what? Does it automatically lead to a truly satisfying life? Too often our work consumes us and we get hypnotized by what we create or the rewards it brings. Yet those very creations can end up causing havoc in the world because we haven't examined the motives behind our actions. If we don't understand ourselves, we'll bring greed, jealousy, and fear into everything we do. And that inevitably leads to frustration or pushes us to escape our unhappiness through mindless distractions. Education shouldn't train us to just fall in line with society or blend in without question. It should help us uncover what truly matters by exploring our thoughts, feelings, and motivations without any bias. If we fail to understand ourselves, then expressing ourselves often turns into obsessively proving ourselves, breeding ambition and aggression in the process. Real education should awaken our self-awareness, not feed our craving for status or self-importance. Isn't it strange that we can be academically brilliant, yet our lives can be full of internal conflicts and destructive behavior? The endless wars and violence in our world make it painfully clear that we're missing something vital in how we raise and teach our children. We know there's a problem, but most of us feel clueless about what to do. Systems and institutions, by themselves, can't bring about deep, lasting change. True transformation happens when individuals change on a fundamental level. The person is more important than any particular system, because without genuine self-understanding, no system, left-wing or right-wing, can create real peace and harmony in the world. The right kind of education looks after individual freedom and nurtures genuine cooperation among people. But this freedom doesn't mean chasing personal success or self-glorification. Real freedom is about deeply knowing ourselves, understanding our fears and desires, so we stop building walls to feel safe. Education's job is to help us see these mental barriers clearly, not to force new patterns of behavior or push us to think in a certain way. Imposing new rules or ideologies won't spark real intelligence or creativity. It only boxes us in further. This is exactly what's happening across the globe. More rules, more ideologies, yet more problems multiplying day by day. We only reach authentic education when we grasp life's deeper meanings. For that, our minds need to be free from the craving for rewards, a craving that breeds fear and blind obedience. If we view our children as our personal property, if we see them as merely extensions of our own little egos or vehicles for our ambitions, then the society we create will be cold and loveless, driven by self-interest alone. When we talk about education, we often think of colleges, schools, and exams. But just talking about them doesn't solve anything if we don't go straight to the heart of the matter. As adults, assuming we've truly grown up, we must ask, do we want our children to be reduced to obedient cogs in some machine, quietly doing routine tasks? Or do we want them to be vibrant, wise, fearless human beings? Gathering knowledge isn't the same as wisdom. It doesn't automatically produce genuine intelligence. You can be incredibly informed and still be rather dull inside if you haven't learned to see yourself and the world with clarity. There's a difference between accumulating knowledge and the act of learning. Knowledge is rooted in the past, things you've read, memorized, or been told. Of course, we need this knowledge for practical living, remembering our name, where we live, how to do our jobs. But knowledge by itself doesn't teach us about the living pulse of reality, about the ever-changing flow of life. Life constantly shifts and unfolds in the present moment, while knowledge tends to keep us locked in what used to be. To truly dance with life, we have to be learning every moment. That means staying open, curious, and ready to see new things instead of clinging to fixed ideas from the past.